The massive ship Sejong moved through the black void of space like a floating city. Its hull stretched 15 kilometers from front to back, covered in metal plates that shined under the light of distant stars. Inside the giant vessel, 50,000 people slept in special chambers waiting to wake up when they reached their new home. Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars through the huge window. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many years in space. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and the gentle breathing of his crew. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Boram Lee as she walked up to him. She was a small woman with quick hands and a sharp mind. Her uniform was covered with oil stains from working on the ship's engines. "We're getting strange readings from our sensors." Dae-ho turned to look at her. "What kind of readings?" Boram pressed buttons on her tablet and showed him the screen. Lines and numbers danced across it in patterns that made no sense. "Energy signals, sir, they're not natural. Someone made them." The bridge became very quiet. Navigation Officer Tae-jin Park looked up from his station. He was young with bright eyes and steady hands. "Captain, I can confirm it. There are artificial structures in the system ahead, big ones." Dae-ho felt his heart beat faster. In all the years humans had traveled through space, they had never found signs of other intelligent life. The Sejong was supposed to be just another colony mission, taking people to a new planet to build a new home. "How far away?" Dae-ho asked. 3 hours at our current speed," Tae-jin replied. Dae-ho walked to the center of the bridge and pressed a button. His voice echoed through the ship. "All senior officers report to the bridge immediately. This is not a drill." Within minutes, the bridge filled with people. Science Officer Yoonji Choi arrived first. She was a woman in her 30s with curious eyes and a notebook always in her hand. Behind her came Security Chief Dong-hyun Seo, a big man with strong arms and a serious face. "What's the situation, Captain?" asked Yoonji. "We found them," Dae-ho said simply. "Or they found us." The crew stared at him. Everyone knew what he meant. After hundreds of years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. "Orders, sir?" asked Dong-hyun. "Yellow alert," Dae-ho said. "Wake up the emergency crew but keep our sleeping colonists safe. Yoonji, I want you to study everything our sensors can tell us about these structures. Dong-hyun, make sure our defensive systems are ready." As the crew rushed to their duties, the Sejong moved closer to the unknown system. Through the bridge windows they could see a bright star surrounded by planets. One of the planets was a giant ball of gas with beautiful rings around it. "Captain," called Tae-jin from his station. "Something's happening." On the main screen, shapes began to appear from behind the gas giant. At first they looked like shadows, but as they came closer, everyone could see they were ships. 12 of them, each one huge and strange. The alien ships did not look like human ships at all. Where the Sejong was built with straight lines and sharp angles, these ships flowed like water. They had smooth curves and seemed to glow with their own light. Patterns of blue and green light moved across their hulls like living things. "They're beautiful," whispered Yoonji. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, dancing around each other in ways that seemed impossible. They came closer to the Sejong but stopped at a safe distance. "Are they scanning us?" asked Dae-ho. "Yes, sir," replied Boram. "But their technology is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's like they're using light itself to look at us." Dae-ho walked to the communication station. "Can we talk to them?" Communications specialist Hyun-woo Song shook his head. He was a quiet man who preferred machines to people, but he was the best at making different systems work together. "I'm trying, Captain, but their signals are very complex. It's not just radio waves. They're using multiple frequencies at the same time." On the main screen, one of the alien ships moved closer. It was the size of a city, but it moved like a bird flying through the air. Lights on its hull pulsed in patterns that almost looked like they were trying to say something. "Sir," said Yoonji, as she studied her readings. "I think they're as surprised to see us as we are to see them. Their scanning patterns suggest they weren't expecting to find a ship like ours." "What do you mean?" asked Dae-ho. Look at their ships, Captain. They're built for grace and speed. Our ship is built for survival and carrying cargo. We probably look as strange to them as they do to us. The Sejong was indeed different from the alien vessels. Where their ships were elegant and flowing, the human ship was thick and strong. It had heavy armor, backup systems for everything, and enough supplies to keep 50,000 people alive for years. It was built by people who knew that space was dangerous and that sometimes things went wrong. "Captain," said Hyunwoo suddenly, "I'm getting something. They're trying to communicate using mathematics, simple patterns that any intelligent species would understand. Can you respond?" "I think so, sir. Give me a moment." Hyunwoo typed quickly on his keyboard. On the main screen, they could see lights flashing on the Sejong's hull in response to the alien patterns. The alien ship's lights changed, becoming more complex. "It's working," said Hyunwoo with excitement. "They're teaching us their language through math and physics. They're very smart, Captain." Daeho felt a mix of fear and wonder. His ship carried the hopes and dreams of 50,000 people. These aliens could destroy the Sejong easily if they wanted to, but their approach seemed peaceful, even friendly. "Keep talking to them," Daeho ordered. "But everyone stay alert. We don't know what they want or what they're capable of." As the two groups of ships faced each other in the vast emptiness of space, both species realized that this moment would change everything. Humans were no longer alone in the universe, and somewhere in the alien ships, beings were learning that they weren't alone either. The Sejong drifted forward slowly, its massive bulk a testament to human determination and hope. Whatever happened next, Captain Daeho Kim knew that this day would be remembered forever as the day humanity took its first step into a much larger universe. 2 days had passed since first contact, and communications specialist Hyunwoo Song had barely slept. He sat at his station surrounded by screens showing mathematical equations, light patterns, and sound waves. His eyes were red from staring at the displays, but he was excited. They were actually talking to aliens. "Captain," Hyunwoo called out as Daeho Kim entered the bridge with a cup of coffee, "I've made a breakthrough. The aliens call themselves the Velothi. They've been trying to teach me their basic concepts through shared mathematics." Daeho walked over to look at the screens. Numbers and symbols flowed across them in patterns that hurt his eyes to follow. "Can you understand what they're saying?" "Some of it," Hyunwoo replied. "They seem very curious about our ship. They keep asking about its size and structure. I think they're amazed that we built something so big." Xenobiologist Mi Young-han looked up from her workstation. She was a middle-aged woman with gentle eyes who had spent her life studying the possibility of alien life. Now that possibility had become reality. "I've been analyzing the data our sensors collected from their ships. Captain, their technology is incredible. Their ships appear to be grown rather than built." "What do you mean grown?" asked Daeho. "Like plants or coral," Mi-young explained. "The hull materials show organic patterns. I think they use living technology that shapes itself. And look at this." She pointed to her screen showing the alien ship's energy readings. "They don't use engines like we do. They seem to manipulate space itself to move." Science officer Yoon-ji Choi joined the conversation. She had been working without rest, trying to understand everything about the Velothi. "Their communication method is fascinating too. They don't just use sound or light. They combine harmonic frequencies with color, patterns to create complex meanings. It's like they speak in music and art at the same time." "Sir," interrupted Hyunwoo, "they're sending a new message. It's more complex than before. I think they want to meet us in person." The bridge fell silent. Everyone looked at Captain Daeho. Meeting aliens face-to-face was something humans had dreamed about for centuries, but now that it was actually happening, it felt scary and wonderful at the same time. "What exactly are they proposing?" asked Daeho. "They want to send one of their people to our ship. An ambassador, I think. They're asking if we have someone who can represent our species." Daeho thought carefully. This decision would affect not just his ship, but all of humanity. "Tell them yes. We'll prepare a meeting room in the diplomatic section and ask them what they need to breathe and survive on our ship." Cultural attaché Jinae Yoon stepped forward. She was a woman who had studied every human culture and language, preparing for the day when they might meet other intelligent beings. Captain, I should be part of this meeting. My job is to help different cultures understand each other. Agreed, said Dae-ho. Mi-young, what have you learned about their physical needs? Mi-young checked her notes. From what I can tell, they can survive in an atmosphere similar to ours, but they prefer cooler temperatures and dimmer light. They seem to communicate partly through bioluminescence, so bright lights might hurt them. Make the preparations, ordered Dae-ho. Hyunwoo, tell them we accept their proposal. Jin-ae, prepare everything we might need for cultural exchange. And everyone remember, we represent all of humanity today. 6 hours later, Dae-ho stood in the diplomatic meeting room with Jin-ae and several other officers. The room had been modified based on what they knew about Velothi preferences. The lights were dimmed, the temperature was lowered, and soft cushions replaced the hard chairs. Captain, announced Hyunwoo through the communication system, the Velothi transport is approaching our docking bay. Through the room's window, they could see a small alien craft approaching the Sejong. It was beautiful, like a glowing pearl with flowing lines. It attached to their ship's docking port with movements so smooth they barely felt it connect. The door opened, and the Velothi ambassador entered. Dae-ho had tried to imagine what aliens might look like, but the reality was both stranger and more wonderful than his imagination. The Velothi was tall and thin, with skin that looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body in slow waves of blue and green. It had 4 arms and moved with a grace that seemed to flow like water. Around, its neck was a device that hummed softly. When the Velothi opened its mouth, beautiful musical sounds came out, but the device translated them into human speech. Greetings, beings of the great vessel, the translator said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. I am Ambassador Keelan, of the Velothi. We have traveled far to meet the builders of this magnificent structure. Dae-ho stepped forward and bowed slightly. Welcome aboard the Sejong, Ambassador Keelan. I am Captain Dae-ho Kim, and this is Cultural Attaché Jin-ae Yoon. We represent humanity. The ambassador's light patterns changed, pulsing brighter. Humanity, such an interesting word. It suggests unity despite diversity. We are honored to meet your species. Jin-ae had prepared for this moment. Ambassador, we have brought gifts from our world, art, music, and literature that show who we are as a people. She presented a collection of human achievements, paintings, music recordings, and books translated into mathematical concepts that the Velothi could understand. Keelan examined them with what seemed like fascination. The lights in its body pulsed faster as it absorbed the information. Remarkable. Your species creates beauty from conflict and struggle. We see pain in your art, but also hope. This is unusual to us. Unusual how? Asked Dae-ho. Our people have lived in peace for thousands of your years, Keelan explained. We have never known war or great hardship. Your art speaks of overcoming difficulties we cannot imagine. And your ship, the ambassador gestured toward the walls around them. It is built like a fortress. Why do you expect danger in the void, Dae-ho? And Jin-ae exchanged glances. How could they explain humanity's history to a species that had never known conflict? Our history has taught us to be prepared, Dae-ho said carefully. We build our ships strong because space is dangerous. We carry many people because we've learned that sometimes worlds can become unsafe to live on. Keelan's light pattern shifted to something that might have been confusion or concern. You speak of threats we do not understand. Our ships are built for beauty and harmony with the universe. We travel to explore and learn, not to escape or fight. Different approaches to the same goal, said Jin-ae diplomatically. We both want our people to survive and thrive among the stars. Yes, agreed Keelan, but your methods suggest you have faced terrors we cannot imagine. Tell me, what drives a species to build vessels like mobile worlds? What are you fleeing from? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Dae-ho realized that the Velothi didn't understand human nature at all. They had never faced extinction, never had to fight for survival, Never had to choose between hope and fear. We're not fleeing, Deho said finally. We're exploring. But we're exploring carefully, because we've learned that the universe can be both wonderful and dangerous. Our ship represents our hope for the future, but also our wisdom about the past. Keelan studied the humans with its large, crystalline eyes. Your species is more complex than we expected. We have much to learn from each other. As the meeting continued, both species began to understand that they had found something precious, another intelligent race with completely different experiences and wisdom. The conversation that started with mathematics was becoming something much deeper, the first real exchange between two civilizations among the stars. Ambassador Keelan had been aboard the Sejong for 3 days, and each day brought new surprises for both species. The Velothi diplomat had requested a full tour of the human vessel, and Captain Dae-ho Kim had agreed. What he didn't expect was how many questions it would raise. Security Chief Dong-hyun Seo walked beside them as they moved through the ship's corridors. He was a practical man who didn't trust easily, especially when it came to protecting 50,000 sleeping colonists. When Keelan asked about the heavy blast doors and security systems, Dong-hyun gave short, careful answers. These barriers seem excessive for a peaceful exploration vessel, Keelan observed, its crystalline body pulsing with curious yellow lights. Do you expect attacks from your own people? We prepare for all possibilities, Dong-hyun replied stiffly. Sometimes, people get scared or confused. Sometimes equipment fails in ways that create danger. We plan for everything. Medical officer Sun-mi Kang joined them as they entered the medical bay. She was a kind woman who had dedicated her life to keeping people healthy and safe. She had been fascinated by the Velothi biology and eager to learn about their medical practices. Ambassador, Sun-mi said with a smile, I've been hoping to ask you about Velothi health and healing. How do your people handle medical emergencies? Keelan's light pattern shifted to something that seemed like confusion. Medical emergencies? We do not understand this concept. Our bodies repair themselves naturally, and our society has no dangerous activities that might cause harm. Sun-mi stared at the alien diplomat. But what about accidents, equipment failures, natural disasters? Our technology grows with us and responds to our needs, Keelan explained. It cannot fail because it is alive, and our worlds are carefully maintained to prevent any natural problems. We have not experienced what you call disasters for many generations. The humans exchanged worried glances. A species that had never faced real danger. How had they survived long enough to develop advanced technology? Chief Engineer Bo-Ram Lee met them at the engine room. She was proud of the Sejong's power systems and wanted to show them off. But when Keelan saw the massive fusion reactors and backup power systems, its reaction was not what she expected. Why? Do you have so many power sources? Keelan asked. Our ships need only one energy system. It grows what power we need. Redundancy, Bo-Ram explained. If one system fails, another takes over. If 2 systems fail, we have a third. We can lose half our power systems and still keep everyone alive. But why would systems fail? Bo-Ram looked at the alien with disbelief. Because things break. Metal gets old, parts wear out, and sometimes there are accidents. Haven't you ever had equipment stop working? No, Keelan said simply. Our living technology repairs itself and grows stronger over time. We do not understand this concept of mechanical failure. Later, in the ship's huge storage areas, Keelan saw the vast supplies of food, water, spare parts, and emergency equipment. The Velothi diplomat seemed overwhelmed by the sheer amount of resources humans had brought with them. You carry supplies for many years, Keelan observed. But why? Can you not simply create what you need as you travel? Create from what? Asked Supply Officer Jae-min Ko, a practical man who had spent his career making sure expeditions had everything they needed. Space is mostly empty. We bring what we need because we can't count on finding materials along the way. We simply reshape matter using our biotechnology, Keelan explained. Any material can become any other material we need. The humans stared at the alien. Such technology would solve countless problems, but it raised new questions about why the Velothi were so unprepared for danger. That evening, Captain Deho hosted a formal dinner for Ambassador Keelan. The ship's senior officers gathered in the main conference room, which had been decorated with art and music from Earth. The mood was friendly, but underneath ran a current of growing concern. "Ambassador," said Cultural Attaché Jin A. Yoon, "we've shared much about human culture and history. Could you tell us more about Velothi society? How did your people develop such advanced technology?" Keelan's body glowed with soft blue light as it considered the question. "We evolved on a world of perfect harmony. Our star is stable, our planet has no dangerous weather, and no other species on our world was aggressive or competitive. We developed intelligence not to survive, but to appreciate the beauty of existence." "No wars?" asked Donghyun. "No competition for resources?" "We do not understand these concepts in the way you use them," Keelan replied. "Our population has remained stable for millennia. Our technology provides everything we need. We have no reason to fight." "But what about expansion?" asked Deho. "Why do you travel among the stars?" "To learn and experience beauty," Keelan said. "We travel to see new worlds and meet new forms of life. We never expected to find a species like yours, one that builds for war and disaster." The room fell silent. Finally, Yoonji Choi spoke up. "Ambassador, we don't build for war. We build for survival. Our history has taught us that civilizations can fall, that planets can become uninhabitable, that sometimes terrible things happen even to good people." "Tell me of these terrible things," Keelan requested. "We wish to understand." And so the humans told their story. They spoke of wars that destroyed cities, of climate changes that forced mass migrations, of diseases that killed millions, of asteroids that could wipe out all life on a planet. They explained how humanity had learned that the universe was beautiful but also dangerous, and that survival required preparation and strength. Keelan listened with growing alarm, its light patterns shifting through colors that seemed to indicate distress and disbelief. "Your species has suffered greatly. We begin to understand why you build such massive defended vessels. You prepare for disasters we cannot imagine." "It's not just about disasters," explained Boram. "It's about independence. The Sejong can survive on its own for decades if needed. We don't have to depend on anyone else for our survival." "But such independence comes at a cost," Keelan observed. "Your ship requires enormous resources and effort to build. You could have built many smaller, more efficient vessels with the same materials." "Smaller ships are more vulnerable," said Donghyun. "If something goes wrong, everyone dies. The Sejong can take damage and keep going. It can protect our people even in the worst situations." Keelan was quiet for a long moment, its body dim with thought. "We have misjudged your species. We saw your massive vessel and your military-style preparations and assumed you were a warlike people. But now we understand. You are not warriors. You are survivors. Everything about your ship speaks of a people who refuse to give up hope, even when facing the worst possibilities." "That's exactly right," said Deho. "We build for the worst case because we hope for the best case. The Sejong represents everything humanity has learned about survival, but also everything we dream about exploring." "Your philosophy is alien to us," Keelan admitted, "but we begin to see its wisdom. We have lived in safety for so long that we may have forgotten important truths about existence." As the evening continued, both species gained new respect for each other. The Velothi began to understand that human strength came from facing adversity, while the humans realized that the Velothi had achieved something precious, a civilization of pure peace and harmony. Neither species realized that soon they would need both approaches to survive what was coming toward them through the darkness of space. Long-range sensor operator Changmin Yu had been monitoring the outer edges of the system for a week, keeping watch for any new developments. He was a quiet man who preferred the company of his machines to most people, but he was very good at noticing when something was wrong. At 0347 hours, his sensors detected something that made his blood run cold. "Captain, to the bridge immediately," Changmin called over the ship's communication system. We have multiple contacts approaching the system. Large numbers, sir. Within minutes, Captain Dae-ho Kim arrived on the bridge, still fastening his uniform. Jacket. Ambassador Keelan had also come, its crystalline body pulsing with concerned orange lights. The Velothi had been staying on the Sejong to continue cultural exchanges, but now its presence became much more important. Report, Dae-ho ordered as he took his position in the captain's chair. Changmin's fingers moved quickly over his controls, bringing up the sensor data on the main screen. Sir, I'm reading approximately 300 objects moving toward us from the outer system. They're moving fast, much faster than any natural objects, and they're consuming everything in their path. On the screen, a three-dimensional map showed the approaching swarm. Each contact was roughly the size of a small ship, but they moved, in perfect coordination like a school of fish. As they passed asteroids and small planetoids, the objects seemed to dissolve, their material absorbed by the mechanical entities. What are they? Asked Science Officer Yoonji Choi as she arrived and began analyzing the sensor data. Keelan's light patterns had turned a deep purple color that the humans had learned meant fear. We have heard stories of such things in the far regions of space. Ancient tales speak of self-replicating machines that consume worlds to build more of themselves. We thought they were myths. Well, they're not myths anymore, said Tactical Officer Gi-tae Nam as he studied the swarm's approach vector. At their current speed, they'll reach the inner system in 6 hours. And, Captain, he paused, checking his calculations again. They're heading straight for the Velothi homeworld. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of computers and the distant vibration of the ship's engines. Everyone understood what this meant. The peaceful Velothi civilization, which had never known war or conflict, was about to face an enemy designed only to consume and multiply. Ambassador, Dae-ho said carefully, what kind of defenses does your homeworld have? Keelan's lights dimmed, almost to nothing. Defenses? We have no weapons, Captain. Our ships are built for exploration and beauty, not fighting. Our worlds have no military installations, we have no soldiers. Fleet Commander So Young Lim, who had been awakened from cryosleep when the first alien contact occurred, stepped forward. She was an older woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Captain, with respect, we need to get out of here. The Sejong is not a warship. We have 50,000 civilians to protect. The Velothi homeworld has billions of people, Dae-ho replied quietly, and they have no way to defend themselves. The bridge crew looked at their captain. Everyone understood what he was thinking, but the weight of the decision was enormous. The Sejong was humanity's greatest achievement, carrying the hopes and dreams of their species. But it was also the only thing standing between the mechanical swarm and the complete destruction of Velothi civilization. Sir, said Communications Officer Hyun Woo-song, I'm receiving desperate messages from Velothi ships throughout the system. They're asking for help, but they don't know what to do. Their bioships are trying to flee, but they're not fast enough. Weapons. Officer Jae-sung-oh checked his system's display. Captain, the Sejong does have defensive weapons. Railguns, particle beams, and nuclear missiles. They were installed in case we encountered hostile aliens or dangerous debris fields, but we've never tested them against something like this. What about the Velothi ships? Asked Dae-ho. Can they fight at all? Keelan pulsed with dim, sad lights. Our vessels can manipulate matter and energy, but we have never used these abilities as weapons. We do not know how to fight. Chief Engineer, Boram Lee was studying the sensor data with growing alarm. Captain, I'm analyzing the swarm's energy patterns. These machines are designed to break down any material they encounter and rebuild it into more of themselves. They're not just weapons. They're a plague. How do we stop them? Asked Security Chief Dong-hyun Seo. I don't know, Boram admitted. But I know one thing. If they reach the Velothi homeworld, they'll consume everything. The planet, the people, even the atmosphere. Then they'll use all that material to build millions more of themselves. Captain Dae-ho Kim stood up slowly. The weight of command had never felt heavier. In his hands lay the fate of 2 civilizations, his own people sleeping. in their pods and the billions of Velothi who had never harmed anyone. "So young," he said to the fleet commander. "Wake up all military personnel from cryosleep. Full combat alert. Jae-sung, charge all weapon systems and prepare for battle. Bo-ram, I want maximum power to engines and shields." "Sir," So-young protested, "the Sejong isn't designed for this kind of fight. We're a colony ship, not a battleship." "Maybe," Daeho replied. "But we're also the toughest ship humans have ever built. We have thick armor, redundant systems, and the best crew in the fleet. If we can't stop these things, no one can." He turned to Ambassador Keelan. "Can your ships help us at all?" Keelan's light patterns shifted through several colors before settling on a determined blue-green. "We cannot fight as you do, but we can adapt. Our biotechnology learns and grows. Perhaps we can find ways to support your efforts." "Do it," Daeho ordered. "Contact your fleet and tell them to work with our tactical officers. We're going to need every advantage we can get." As the crew rushed to prepare for battle, long-range sensor operator Chung Min called out another report. "Captain, the swarm is accelerating. They've detected our presence and the Velothi homeworld. They're changing formation into attack patterns." On the main screen, the mechanical entities reorganized themselves into a massive arrow shape, all pointing toward the inhabited planet. Their speed increased and the rate at which they consumed space debris grew faster. "Time to contact?" asked Daeho. 4 hours, sir." Daeho looked around at his crew. They were scared. He could see it in their faces. But they were also determined. The Sejong had been built to carry humanity to the stars, but now it would have to stand and fight to protect their new alien friends. "All hands," he announced over the ship's communication system. "This is the captain. We are about to engage hostile forces threatening our allies. The Sejong was built to be humanity's ark among the stars. Today we find out if she can also be our shield." As the massive human vessel changed course toward the approaching swarm, its crew prepared for the first battle between humans and an alien enemy. In the depths of the ship, 50,000 colonists slept peacefully, unaware that their dreams of a new world now depended on the courage and determination of the crew who watched over them. The Sejong accelerated toward danger, its hull gleaming with purpose in the light of distant stars. The Sejong moved into position between the mechanical swarm and the Velothi homeworld, like a mountain of metal and determination. Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge, watching as hundreds of his crew members took their battle stations. Many of them had been awakened from cryosleep just hours before, but they moved with the efficiency that came from years of training. "Distance to swarm?" Daeho called out. 50,000 kilometers and closing," replied Tactical Officer Gi Tae-nam. "They're maintaining attack formation. I count 287 individual units." "Weapons status?" Weapons Officer Jae-sung. Oh checked his displays. All railguns charged and ready. Particle beam arrays online. Nuclear missiles armed and loaded. "Sir, we've never fired these weapons at full power before. Today we find out what they can do," Daeho said grimly. Ambassador Keelan stood beside the command chair, its crystalline body pulsing with rapid patterns of light. "Captain, our ships are in position around the homeworld. We cannot fight as you do, but our biotechnology is adapting. We're learning to weaponize our matter manipulation abilities." Chief Strategist Haiwan Cho had been studying the enemy formation for hours. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who could see patterns where others saw only chaos. "Captain, I think I understand how they operate. They move in coordination because they share information instantly. If we can disrupt their communication, they might become confused." "How do we do that?" asked Daeho. "Their signals use quantum entanglement," Haiwan explained. "But Velothi biotechnology might be able to interfere with quantum fields." "Ambassador, can your people create interference patterns?" Keelan's lights pulsed brighter. "Yes, we believe so. Our ships are already beginning to experiment with quantum disruption fields." On the main screen, the mechanical swarm grew larger as it approached. Each unit was about the size of a fighter craft but moved with perfect precision. As they came closer, the humans could see their true nature, sleek machines covered in sensors and equipped with tools for breaking down matter. Sir? Called out Fighter Squadron Leader Young-Soo Kang from the hangar bay. Drone squadrons are ready for launch. We have 100 combat drones fueled and armed. Launch when ready, Daeho ordered. Protect the Velothi ships and target any swarm units that break through our main defense. The Sejong shuddered slightly as its massive railguns fired their first salvo. Projectiles moving at tremendous speed lanced out toward the swarm, striking the lead units and destroying them in brilliant explosions. But for every unit destroyed, others quickly moved to fill the gaps. Direct hits, reported Jae-sung. But they're adapting to our attack patterns. The remaining units are changing their approach vectors. Chief Engineer Bo-ram Lee had been working frantically with Velothi scientists to merge human and alien technologies. Captain, we've managed to integrate Velothi biotech with our weapon systems. The new hybrid systems can adapt their targeting as the enemy changes tactics. Make it happen, Daeho ordered. The swarm reached weapons range and began its attack. Energy beams lanced out from the mechanical units, striking the Sejong's thick armor. The ship's shields flared with each impact, but the heavy plating held. The human vessel had been built to survive the worst that space could offer, and it was proving its worth. Hull breach on Deck 15, reported Damage Control Officer Min-ho Park. Emergency teams responding. Armor is holding on all other sections. Return fire, Daeho commanded. The Sejong's weapons opened up in full fury. Railgun projectiles, particle beams, and nuclear missiles lit up space around the ship. The mechanical swarm took heavy losses, but they kept coming, their numbers still overwhelming. Fighter Squadron Leader Young-Soo Kang led his drones in a desperate battle to protect the beautiful Velothi bioships. The alien vessels were trying to help, but their peaceful nature made them vulnerable to the mechanical attackers. Several Velothi ships had already suffered damage from swarm units that got past the human defenses. We're losing ground, reported Gi-tae from Tactical. They're too numerous. For every one we destroy, 3 more take its place. Hae-won had been watching the battle patterns carefully. Captain, I think I see a weakness. The swarm units need to return to their command ship periodically to share information and receive new orders. There, that larger unit at the center of the formation. If we can destroy it, the others might lose coordination. It's heavily defended, Jae-sung observed. We'd have to get through 50 smaller units to reach it. Then that's what we do, Daeho decided. All weapons target the command unit. Fighter squadrons, clear us a path. The Sejong pushed forward into the heart of the swarm, its massive bulk absorbing tremendous damage as it fought toward the command unit. Smaller mechanical attackers swarmed around the human ship like angry insects, their weapons sparking against the heavy armor. Hull breaches on multiple decks, reported Min-ho, but all critical systems are still operational. Sir, called out Keelan, our quantum disruption is working. The swarm units are beginning to show confusion in their coordination. On the main screen, they could see the effect. Some of the mechanical units were firing on each other or moving in random directions. The perfect coordination that had made them so dangerous was breaking down. Now's our chance, Hae-won announced. The command unit is exposed. All weapons, fire, Daeho ordered. Every weapon system on the Sejong fired simultaneously at the swarm's command ship. Railgun projectiles, particle beams, and nuclear missiles converged on the target. The command unit's shields flared and failed under the massive assault, and the mechanical ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Immediately, the remaining swarm units began to act erratically. Without their central coordination, they could no longer function as a unified force. Some continued to attack randomly, while others simply stopped moving altogether. All units, Daeho broadcast to both human and Velothi forces, pursue and destroy the remaining swarm units before they can reorganize. The next hour was a running battle throughout the system, as human drones and Velothi bioships hunted down the scattered mechanical attackers. Working together, they systematically destroyed every remaining unit, making sure none could escape to build a new swarm elsewhere. Finally, space grew quiet except for the gentle hum of ship engines and the distant songs of the Velothi vessels. All swarm units destroyed, reported Gi-tae. The threat is neutralized. The bridge crew let out a collective sigh of relief, but their celebration was quiet. The Sejong had taken heavy damage, and several crew members had been injured in the battle. The cost of victory had been high. Ambassador Keelan approached Captain Daeho, its body glowing with warm golden light. "Captain, our people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. You risked your ship and your crew to save a civilization you had just met." "That's what allies do," Daeho replied simply. "We help each other. Our biotechnology can help repair your ship," Keelan offered, "and we would like to share our knowledge with your people. The cooperation between our species today showed us both what we can accomplish together." Chief Engineer Boram Lee was already working with Velothi technicians to begin repairs. The alien biotechnology could actually heal the damaged sections of the ship, making them stronger than before. In exchange, the Velothi were learning about human engineering principles and defensive thinking. "Captain," said Fleet Commander So Young Lim, "what are your orders? Do we continue to our original destination?" Daeho looked out at the stars, where human and Velothi ships worked side by side to clear debris from the battle. "Yes, we continue our mission. But now we're not going alone. The Velothi will help us establish our colony and we'll help them prepare defenses for their worlds. Today we learned that the universe is more dangerous than either of our species realized alone." Ambassador Keelan's light patterns shifted to something that seemed like joy and determination. "Our peoples will grow stronger together. The Velothi will learn to defend themselves, and humanity will learn to build with beauty as well as strength." "A fair trade," agreed Daeho. As the Sejong prepared to resume its journey to Kepler 442, now accompanied by several Velothi vessels, the crew reflected on what they had accomplished. The massive human ship had been built to carry civilization to the stars, but today it had proven it could also defend civilization among the stars. In the depths of the ship, 50,000 colonists still slept peacefully in their cryogenic chambers, unaware that they were no longer alone in the universe. When they woke up at their new home, they would find not just a new world to build on, but new friends to build it with. The Sejong continued on its path through space. No longer just humanity's ark, but the first symbol of cooperation between two species who had learned that together, they were stronger than either could ever be alone.